chosen. Close your eyes. This is not a suggestion. This is not a breathing exercise. This is not a spiritual warm-up to help you relax. Close your eyes right now, just 3 seconds. I want you to feel the darkness that appears when your eyelids close. Really feel it. Sit inside it for a moment. That darkness is not emptiness. It is not nothing. It is exactly what you have been seeing your entire life without knowing you were seeing something real. Now, open them. If you made it to this video, it was not by chance. This is not entertainment. This is not another piece of content playing in the background while you eat or wind down for the night. It is a revelation that was specifically sealed for people who carry a capacity so dangerous that the spiritual world has been working for years to make sure they never discover it. This message was designed for one exact type of person. Someone who has a mark in their eyes that not even the most ancient forces in the spiritual realm know how to extinguish. And if something deep inside you just confirmed that these words are landing on the right person, then you already know you cannot leave this video before hearing everything that comes next. What I am going to reveal today is not theory. It is the explanation you have been searching for your entire life, for something that happens to you that no one has ever been able to name. You see things that other people do not see. You feel things that other people do not feel. You pick up on intentions before they are spoken. You detect dishonesty before any evidence of it is visible. You anticipate situations before they occur. And most people around you have spent your whole life telling you that you are exaggerating, that you are too sensitive, that you think too much, that you see problems where none exist. Today, I am going to prove to you that you were never exaggerating, that you were never imagining anything, that what you have is not a mental defect. It is a spiritual capacity so ancient and so powerful that it was designed before you were born, and it activated inside you without your permission, without a ritual, without anyone teaching you how to use it. Subscribe to this channel now and activate the bell with all notifications so you do not miss a single revelation being released in this season. Write 777 in the comments if someone in your life has ever called you too intense, too perceptive, too difficult to fool, and stay until the end. Because the second time I ask you to close your eyes, what you understand in that darkness is going to permanently change how you see yourself. I need you to understand something before we continue. Popular religion taught you that spiritual perception belongs only to prophets, anointed pastors, saints with centuries of devotion. They sold you the idea that seeing in the spiritual plane requires years of preparation, specific rituals, theological training, and the approval of some recognized authority. It is a lie. The Bible tells the story of a boy who heard the voice of God when the professional priests could no longer. Samuel was a child serving in the temple under Eli, the high priest, the man with the highest spiritual rank in all of Israel. And the text says something that should stop you cold. In those days, the word of the Lord was rare, and visions were not widespread. The professionals of spirituality were blind. Those who were supposed to see saw nothing. And in the midst of that absolute spiritual silence, God did not go to the high priest. He went to a child who did not even recognize the voice when he heard it. Samuel got up 3 times, convinced it was Eli calling his name. He had no training. He had no formation. He had no idea what was happening. But he had something the professionals had quietly lost. Ears that had not yet learned to filter out the invisible. That is the first truth you need to plant in your spirit. The capacity to perceive the spiritual is not earned with diplomas or years of religious service. You are born with it. It comes coded into certain people from before their eyes first opened in this world. You are one of those people, and you know it because you have lived it since you can remember. As a child, you already felt things you could not explain. You would walk into certain places, and something would shift in your chest. You would meet people, and before they opened their mouths, you already knew whether you could trust them or not. You had dreams that came true, not vaguely, with specific details that left you standing still in the morning, trying to process what had just happened. And when you tried to share any of it, the answer was always the same. That is your imagination. Do not be dramatic. Everyone feels that. It is nothing special, but not everyone feels that. And it was not imagination, and it was special. The people who said those things were not lying to you deliberately. They genuinely could not process what you described because they do not carry the internal equipment to experience it. Trying to explain your perception to someone who does not have it is like trying to describe color to someone born without sight. It is not a communication failure. It is a capacity gap. And instead of trusting what you perceived, you learned to doubt yourself. You learned to silence the inner voice that was alerting you, because it hurt more to be the strange one than to keep explaining what no one around you could confirm. Now, I need to tell you what this capacity you carry really is. The Apostle Paul wrote something in the first letter to the Corinthians, chapter 2, verse 14, that most believers read without understanding the weight it carries. He said, "The natural person does not accept the things of the Spirit of God, for they are folly to him, and he is not able to understand them because they are spiritually discerned." He did not say spiritual things are difficult to understand. He said there is a type of person who literally cannot perceive them. It is not a willpower issue. It is not an intelligence issue. It is a capacity issue, like a radio receiver that does not have the correct frequency. The signal is fully present and broadcasting, but the device simply cannot pick it up. The letter to the Hebrews chapter 5 verse 14 confirms it. Solid food is for the mature, for those who by reason of use have their senses exercised to discern both good and evil. Senses exercised, not accumulated knowledge. Senses like a muscle that grows stronger with use. And you have been exercising that sense your entire life without knowing you were doing it. Every time you perceived the real intention hiding behind a friendly expression, you were exercising. Every time you felt something bad was coming before any evidence appeared, and you were right, you were exercising. It was not anxiety. It was not paranoia. It was a spiritual sense strengthening with each use. And here is where the story gets serious. When the chosen one begins to truly see, when the eyes of understanding open, as Ephesians chapter 1 verse 18 describes, everything changes at once, and it does not change for the better immediately. First, it changes into something that feels like absolute chaos. There is a story in 2 Kings chapter 6 that holds one of the most precise descriptions of spiritual perception anywhere in Scripture. Elisha the prophet was in the city of Dothan. The king of Syria had sent an entire army to capture him. Horses, war chariots, soldiers in every direction. They surrounded the city at night, so there would be no way out. When Elisha's servant woke in the morning and stepped outside, he saw the army. He panicked. "Alas, my master, what shall we do?" And Elisha's response should stay with you permanently. Do not be afraid. Those who are with us are more than those who are with them. The servant must have concluded that Elisha had lost his grip on reality. Outside, there was an army. Inside, there were two men. The math was impossible. Then, Elisha prayed something that sounds simpler on the surface, but is actually the most profound request in the entire account. "Lord, I pray, open his eyes that he may see." Open his eyes. He did not ask God to change the circumstances. He asked God to change the servant's perception. And when the servant's eyes were opened, he saw what had been present the entire time, but invisible to his natural senses. The mountain surrounding them was covered with horses and chariots of fire, a celestial army present from the beginning, surrounding them, protecting them, already in position. The protection had not appeared in response to Elisha's prayer. It was already there. The only thing that changed was the servant's capacity to see it. And that is exactly what happened to you. You did not gain a new power. Your eyes were opened, and you began to see what had always been there. The covering over your life, the real intentions operating beneath the surfaces around you. And the first reaction when spiritual eyes open wide is not peace. It is terror, because everything arrives at once, without a filter, without training, without anyone beside you explaining what is coming through or how to manage the volume. There was a period when everything became too intense, too internally loud, too heavy to carry. You began absorbing the energy of other people as if it were a physical weight pressing against you. You could walk into a building and feel that something painful had happened there without being told anything. You would look someone in the eyes and see things about them that had not been shared with you. Your dreams shifted, more vivid, more layered, more accurate in ways that defied explanation. You would wake up holding information that was not available when you closed your eyes, and your body began reacting. Headaches without medical cause, pressure at the front of your skull. Complete depletion after time spent around certain people. Then unexplained clarity and energy after hours of solitude and quiet. You went to doctors. They found nothing. They offered stress as the explanation. And you sat there knowing, in the part of you where truth lives even without witnesses, that what was happening to you was not in any of their textbooks. It was not psychological. It was something much older waking up inside you. Now, I need to explain why this activation was not supposed to happen yet. In the spiritual system, the opening of deep perception follows a specific order: preparation first, then instruction, then gradual activation, then finally complete vision. This sequence exists to protect the person receiving it, because exposure to too much too fast, without preparation, does not illuminate someone. It overwhelms them. Imagine someone who has spent their entire life inside a completely dark cave. Then imagine pulling them outside at noon on the brightest summer day with no warning. The light does not help them see. It blinds them. What was meant as a gift becomes unbearable pain because the system was not prepared to receive it. That is what happened to you in the spiritual dimension. Your perception opened ahead of schedule. And when heaven observed this happening, the question was not simply what happened. It was how. Because early activation is not an accident in the spiritual world, and you broke that calendar. Not with a ritual, not with years of disciplined spiritual practice. You broke it with pain, because extreme suffering can activate spiritual capacities that were programmed to open much later in a person's life. Jacob wrestled all night with a heavenly being at the river Jabbok. The struggle lasted until his hip was thrown out of joint. Only after that physical breaking, only after the pain that would leave him limping permanently, did he receive a new name and the capacity to see what he had never seen before. "I have seen God face to face," he said. He did not encounter what he encountered when life was comfortable. He encountered it on the other side of being shattered. Paul's experience on the Damascus road was so overwhelming that it shut his physical sight down completely for 3 days. The temporary blindness was not punishment. It was a reset. His perceptual system needed to shut down and rebuild before it could handle what it was now receiving. And you went through your own Jabbok, your own Damascus Road. There was a period of pain so severe that something inside you gave way, not your spirit, not your core. The filter broke. The partition separating your natural perception from your spiritual perception. It broke because the pressure exceeded what the normal system was built to handle. Your soul activated deeper sight because it was the only way to survive what you were going through. And heaven watched as a chosen one who was not yet scheduled to see began seeing everything without a filter, without control, without instruction, and did not go mad. That is what stopped heaven, because the weight of unfiltered spiritual perception without preparation destroys most people who encounter it. But you absorbed it, confused. Yes, frightened at times, overwhelmed nearly always. But standing, still standing. There was once a sculptor who had been blind since birth. He had never seen a shape, never seen a color. His world was built from touch, sound, scent, and darkness, but his hands would rest against a block of stone and feel things that no one around him could perceive. Where others saw a shapeless mass, his fingers found curves that were already there waiting to be uncovered. The people in the town mocked him. How can someone who has never seen beauty create anything beautiful? But he was not reproducing what the eye sees. He was revealing what the soul feels. Then a healer arrived and offered him a treatment that would restore his sight. He accepted, and when he opened his eyes for the first time, something terrible happened. He could not work anymore. Colors flooded in. Visual shapes competed with the internal shapes his hands had always felt. He did not know which input to follow. He sat in front of the stone, and for the first time in his life, his hands trembled, paralyzed between two worlds. The town decided sight had taken away his gift. But they were wrong. Sight had added something that required time and interior work to absorb. Because true mastery was never going to come from feeling alone or from seeing alone. And that day arrived. He placed his hands on the stone with his eyes open. For the first time, his hands and his sight worked as partners. What he created had no precedent in the town's entire history, form and essence in a single object, the visible and the invisible existing together. People who looked at it wept without being able to explain why. That story is yours. You are the sculptor. You have always perceived the world through a sense that most people around you do not possess. And then your eyes opened. Suddenly, without warning, without transition. The chaos that followed was not the loss of your gift. It was the experience of processing two simultaneous realities for the first time. The natural and the spiritual. Your system needed time to learn to integrate both. That period of confusion was not a step backward. It was the most critical calibration period of your entire life. And it is ending. Now I need to completely reframe what you believe happened to you. Everything I described until now, you have been receiving as something that happened to you, as if you were a passive recipient of a capacity that arrived without your involvement. There is a deeper truth, and it changes your position in this story entirely. You did not activate your spiritual sight by accident. You activated it with a decision. Think. There was a specific moment, you know exactly which one. A moment when you made a choice that hurt more than anything you had done before. Letting go of someone you deeply loved because you could see they were destroying you. Forgiving something that no human framework considers forgivable. Getting up one morning when every part of you was screaming that continuing was pointless, and getting up anyway. telling the truth, when the lie would have been infinitely more comfortable, that decision. That exact one. The one that felt like something tearing inside your chest when you made it. That was not just human courage. It was the spiritual act that set everything in motion. Because in the spiritual world, perception is not unlocked with rituals or religious practice. It is unlocked with truth, when a person chooses truth at a cost so high that every fiber of them is begging them to choose comfort. Instead, that choice emits a frequency that pierces the boundary between the visible and the invisible. Jesus stated this directly in John chapter 8, verse 32. You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. This is not intellectual, this is contact. When you choose truth, even though it costs you something essential, you are making direct contact with something alive, something with its own power. Your decision to choose truth in your darkest chapter was that contact. You reached out with empty hands and touched something real. And truth opened your eyes. If this was an accident, you are a victim. But if it was a decision, you are the author, the one who triggered your own awakening with no manual, no guide, no safety net, nothing but the stubborn refusal to choose a comfortable lie when the truth was available. Now you understand why heaven actually paused when this occurred. A chosen one triggering their own activation through choosing truth under extreme pressure. Without guidance, without any awareness, they were initiating anything at all. That confirmed something about you that heaven needed to verify. Your integrity does not depend on being observed. You choose what is true, not because you were trained to or rewarded for it, but because something in your fundamental nature will not allow you to do otherwise. Honesty in you is not a learned behavior, it is original code. That is why the protocol over your life was changed. The standard sequence, preparation, instruction, staged activation, complete vision, that sequence was cancelled. You received an acceleration designation, like a seed that breaks through the ground before the season technically allows for it. Because the quality of the soil was so exceptional that the seed could not wait any longer. You are that soil. Now, I need to prepare you for what follows. Activated spiritual perception brings specific responsibilities. The first responsibility is to protect what you see. Not everything your spiritual eyes capture is meant to be spoken out loud. There are things you are going to perceive about people and situations that, if released at the wrong moment, will cause damage instead of bringing clarity. The prophet Daniel received visions of enormous significance that the angel instructed him to seal. Not because they were unreliable, because the moment to release them had not come. Accurate information at the wrong moment is exactly as dangerous as false information at any moment. The second responsibility is to refuse to let perception become judgment. Seeing clearly what is true about someone does not hand you authority to condemn them. Jesus saw the full truth about the woman the Pharisees brought before him. They were ready to execute her, but he used it as a doorway, not as a weapon. Let him who is without sin cast the first stone. Spiritual perception without compassion becomes religious arrogance. You see more than others, that is real. It does not position you above others. It positions you with greater responsibility toward them. The third responsibility is to treat your energy as a resource you manage deliberately. Spiritual perception draws from your physical reserves. Every time your system processes input from the invisible dimension, it uses energy your body needs for ordinary function. That is why crowds drain you in ways they do not drain other people. That is why you require more time alone than most people around you seem to need. You are not antisocial. You are running a more demanding perceptual system than most people operate, and that system requires consistent recovery time. Elijah experienced this directly after the greatest display of spiritual authority in his entire recorded ministry at Mount Carmel. He collapsed. He told God he was done, not because he had lost faith, because he had pushed a high-output system well past its safe operating range. God did not question him. He sent a messenger with food and told him to rest. Your need for recovery and solitude is not a character weakness. It is the cost of carrying what you carry. Now, I want to tell you the thing that may matter most in this entire video. You have spent years living with the belief that your perception is a burden, that seeing this much is some kind of punishment. Hear this with every part of you that is capable of receiving it. What you carry is not a defect. It is exactly what the current moment in the world needs from you. We live in a time when deception has reached a level of sophistication that most people cannot see through without tools they do not possess. In that environment, a person who can see past the surface is the counterweight. That person is the lighthouse. Your perception was not designed to isolate you. It was built so you could stand in places others cannot see clearly and offer them something they cannot generate on their own. Every episode of pain from seeing too much was part of your development. Every night of solitude was the cost of something rare. And now that you know what you are, there is no credible road back to pretending you do not. The prophet Jeremiah tried that road. In chapter 20, verse 9, he decided he was finished. He would stop speaking. But he described something in his chest that refused to cooperate. Like a fire shut up in his bones, he tried to hold it in and could not. That is what you feel when you attempt to operate as though you are the same as everyone around you. That pressure building when you silence what you are genuinely seeing. You cannot extinguish what you actually are, and you were never supposed to try. Now, I want to do something with you. Close your eyes again. Right now, the same way you did at the very beginning, but the darkness you are in right now is not the same darkness from before this video began. Because now you know what Elisha's servant learned that morning outside Dothan. Darkness is not the same as absence. Darkness simply means the ordinary way of seeing is not the right instrument for this environment. Close your eyes, and instead of waiting for something to appear in the dark, do something different. Feel what is already in the darkness with you. The presence that has been beside you on every night that should have finished you and did not. The covering that held in every moment when everything external said it should have given way. Now open your eyes. Notice whether something shifted. The darkness did not change. You changed, because now you understand that the absence of visible proof does not determine whether something is actually present. Every perception that someone told you to dismiss as imagination was real. Every intuition you trusted and then talked yourself out of based on what seemed rational was accurate. Every dream that carried information and later proved itself true in your waking life was not coincidence. It was vision. You were not distorted. You were not too much. You were not wrong about what you were seeing. You were seeing the entire time, without a single person around you equipped to confirm it. And the sentence I want you to carry from this video, the one that belongs in the place inside you where certainties live, is this. I always saw. Now I know what I was seeing. Say it inside yourself, not with your voice. With your spirit, let it settle where it cannot be argued out. Because that sentence is the shield that holds every time a future voice tells you that you are exaggerating. I always saw, now I know what I was seeing. Before you leave, I need to warn you about something. In the next few hours or days, something is going to attempt to take what you just received. It may arrive as a quiet doubt. Did I actually experience all of that? Or did I simply get swept up in a video? It may come through a person who shows up saying exactly the right words to reopen the question of whether your perception is reliable. It may come as a circumstance that appears to prove that nothing changed. None of those things are the truth. Every one of them is a response to what just happened in you. Because what operates against chosen ones with active perception understands something very clearly. A chosen one who is confused about what they see can be redirected. A chosen one who knows what they see and knows that they know it cannot be deceived. You have moved from the first position to the second. Do not give consent to closing what was opened. King Solomon wrote in Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23, "Guard your heart above all else, for from it flow the springs of life." Guard what you receive today, not as information, as identity. You are not someone who encountered content about spiritual perception today. You are someone who has always carried this capacity, and who today finally received the confirmation needed to stop apologizing for it. If everything you heard today resonated in the deepest part of your spirit, write 777 in the comments. Declare that you recognize what you have always been, and that you are done shrinking from it or explaining it away. Subscribe and turn on every notification. Share this with someone in your life who has always been called too sensitive, too much, too hard to fool, and who needs to understand urgently that what they carry is not a weakness. It is the sharpest instrument that exists. And before you leave, click on the video appearing on your screen right now to discover what specific signal heaven registered at the moment. It detected that your eyes opened before the scheduled time, and why that detail alone makes you someone who cannot be stopped in the season that is already beginning. Together, we are stronger.